You know, I was at Nasser Hospital, and the Israeli military put a tweet that a rocket was fired from the compound while I was there 24/7. And there was never any rocket. And I actually recently went back and found that they deleted that tweet. So there's never any explanation.
Right.
They raided the hospital. They abducted a bunch of people. Never any explanation for it. It's just kind of the, business as usual.
Right. That's what I mean. Just one example is that they did that with Shireen Abu Akleh, right? They said
That's
that
right.
she had been killed by a Palestinian. They released video, and of course it wasn't true. And then the U.S. was like, "Oh yeah, it may have been done by Israel," but by then it was out of the news. And speaking of how the U.S. enables Israel, let's take a look at this clip of Karine Jean Pierre being asked by a journalist about this kidnapping.
Say that one more time.
Human rights and upholding international law has been a priority for this administration. But we're not disputing that, right?
No, I'm not disputing that. You're correct. That is something that when I'm asked about it, we say that the president brings that up when he has meetings or bilateral meetings with world leaders. He brings that up, and it's always something that we certainly focus on, for sure.
So I don't know if you've seen Amnesty International report, but basically the detailing the arrest of doctors, health workers in Gaza, and some of them has endured torture. On December 27th, Dr. Hussam Abu Safiyya, he's the doctor for Kemal Adwan Hospital, was arrested. And till now, we don't know what his whereabouts, and there is fear from Amnesty International for his life. What is the White House doing to talk with a close ally like yours, which is Israel, to make sure that his life is spared and he's safe?
So on that particular matter, I don't have anything to share on any conversation on that specific amnesty situation. Obviously, when it comes to humanitarian assistance, we continue certainly to be concerned of the lack of humanitarian assistance. This is something that we talk directly with our Israeli counterparts in the government, and so we will continue to do that. You've seen Secretary Blinken and others who have gone into the region and had those conversations with Israel about that. I don't have anything to share about that particular instance. I would have to talk to the team, but that is something that we certainly take very seriously when it comes to humanitarian aid and humanitarian workers being able to be allowed to the job. But I can't speak to that particular report. I have to talk to our team. I want to be really, really mindful on that.
But would you agree that arresting doctors in hospitals is a violation of human rights? And
again, I want to be super mindful because you're asking me about a particular incident that has occurred, and I just want to make sure I have all of the information. I don't want to give you an answer without having all the information, and so I'm just going to be super mindful and leave it there.
I mean, using the word like this is a mindfulness practice or something.
Mindful.
We're living in a different world. Yeah.
I mean, they're just tiptoeing around any sort of, like, oh, this could be something wrong. They don't even want us to use any sort of negative connotation to any word. It's just so disappointing because this is the real deal. And instead, we have to play this sort of these games around, okay, how can we best provide diplomatic cover, political cover? How can we best play the PR game for Israel as opposed to maybe we should look into this?
And we sneer at it, but realistically, like, we should be disgusted. We should be disgusted watching that, knowing that even while Gaza is experiencing a genocide, millions and millions of dollars are being spent by American taxpayers to continue to fund weapons to support this genocide.
And Biden just
and to provide diplomatic cover.
$8 billion arms sale to Israel, by the way.
Yeah, to kill children who are living in tents. It's an exercise in how do we get away with saying nothing so that we don't look guilty for supporting a genocide. That's what we're watching. It's really quite disgusting.
It's incredible because she can't even condemn it in, like, she wouldn't even say to that journalist, in theory, of course, in principle, like kidnapping doctors is wrong. She couldn't even say that because that would come off as condemning Israel, and because everyone knows that they really did that, or if when it comes out that they did that, then she'll have been seen as condemning them, and they're our special friend. Thayer, you were given the chance to speak to Biden. Can you talk about what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you saw just in that recent clip. There was no seriousness about figuring out what is going on the ground in Gaza. I was told I was the first person who had been on the ground to brief the president, and this was back in April. It was after the World Central Kitchen attack happened, where they were targeted with 3 separate missiles in their convoy after clearing all coordinates with the Israelis. It was after another arms sale had been approved and a fighter jet sale had been approved. And so there was this constant sort of attitude when it came to the Biden administration about making sure that they were supporting the Israelis in any fashion and not having what they call daylight between them and the Israelis. And they even used that term recently, and they used it with me, where they don't want to show any daylight between them and the Israelis because they felt like Palestinian groups would take advantage of that, all while there was this massacre taking place and there was this fear that Rafah was going to be invaded. We appealed to them, just say, please, before, as I was getting up to walk away from him, I said, just don't let them invade Rafah. There's an orphan in a tent. Here's a letter from her begging you, don't let them invade Rafah. It will be a bloodbath. And Rafah was invaded. And indeed, it was a bloodbath. And we saw sort of what took place. I mean, that's sort of been the consistent messaging from the Biden administration, as well as their policies. It's like, let's do whatever we can to continue to support. Let's veto at the UN Security Council any resolutions that bring about accountability. Let's make sure that all of the guns and the bullets are needed. Let's make sure that anytime something tries to come up with respect to, hey, there was a poor incident, let's be very vague about, oh, we don't know the details yet. Let's wait till we hear more information. So it was a moment where they demonstrated their true character to me in person, and they've continued to do that even until these last few days. Like, we are talking about them leaving office in 10 days. There are no more political considerations they have to think about, right? Like, he's not running for re-election. There's somebody else coming in. Just try to do the right thing. And instead, you're getting answers like the ones that we just heard. It was a really miserable conversation. I'm glad I walked away from him when I did.
And what did he say?
He said he understood. I mean, he said he first condescendingly was like, you guys, because there was a group of us. He's like, you guys are going to say stuff. I hope we know a lot about the situation, that we're working really hard. And in my head, I'm like, you guys just approved more fighter jets, more 2-ton bombs. You just allowed this World Central Kitchen attack to take place. And by the way, the World Food Program just had a car that was under attack. And, nobody can accuse Cindy McCain of being, a Palestinian terrorist or pro-Palestinian bias, right? So, this is just a pattern of behavior that they allowed and they condoned, and they have continued to support and provide a lot of cover for. And so he said, as I got up to walk away, I said, I'm going to walk away from you like you walked away from us, like you walked away from the Palestinian people. And he said, I understand. You do what you got to do. And, I just went on out. And of course, over the next weeks, we saw the military level Rafah. And, we're still dealing with this now, several months later, with where they're going back to places that they have already destroyed. And so, it's really been a total disaster and failure. And I don't care what they try to do to change the narrative about this. This is something that will forever be attached to them for all of history. This is what their legacy will be.